Screw it. We'll go live now. We're going live now. We're doing it live. We're doing it now. How you doing, Cora Horse? Love to see your beautiful faces, even though I can't. You see my beautiful face, so you're welcome for that. You might want to throw a little money in the pot for that. We have the giving doors open. Anybody who wants to help us, I'm making some big announcements today about what we're doing in our current push. I'm going to pop this up on here. Mark it on your calendars. We don't yet have all the tech set up for RSVPing, but there's going to be the first Cora Horror in-person event ever in a beautiful place, St. George, Utah, February 22nd. Put it on your calendars. It's going to begin officially we're going to open the doors at 11, and it's going to be an incredible event. A certain ex-Mormon famous YouTuber who is a true crime channel, has her own true crime channel, has agreed to sing for us. She's also an opera singer. Some of you already know who I'm talking about. Is our one and only Megan Connor is going to be there and is going to sing for us. And we are super excited for that. I've been talking to Megan about doing something where we put her to use with her talents, doing something other than true crime. Because frankly, true crime, you guys, what you guys might not know, is it takes your soul out, man. It diminishes your soul a little bit. So we have to. Oh, cool. I'm sorry. Hey, you know what though? I'm gonna be out east in March. It's looking at this point. Right after the event, I will be going out east and hopefully going to be putting up some events out there. I am also hoping in the near future to put together our mass resignation events in Utah County and Salt Lake County. So, and throughout Utah. So super exciting. But this event is going to be called the Space After. And so mark it on your calendar. The RSVP is free. You don't have to, we ask that people will sign up, give us their information so that we know that you're coming. So we know how to plan, for freshmen to be there and things like that. What'll happen, I'll just give you a quick preview of it, is that we're going to have a reclaim table there. And the reclaim table is going to be a place where you can go and perform a ceremony we call the reclaim, where you can reclaim your life from the cult, from whether that be Mormonism, Jehovah's Witnesses, whatever you may have. It's very plausible that on that date there will be a lot of ex-Mormons and progressive Mormons in town. We are not conflicting with any other events. Just want everybody to understand that. So you'll be able to come in and perform the reclaim and even record it if you want to and post it with the hashtag. Well, we haven't come up with a hashtag yet. Probably reclaim, hashtag Cora Horror. And if you want to. And it's a great little ceremony, great way to commit to your spiritual growth beyond Mormonism or whatever have you. Then there will be a special speaker, a presentation, and then I will speak for a few minutes, not long. I'm using this as an opportunity to canonize a few changes in the Church of Cora Horror. Very exciting, including a new value of the Church of Cora Horror. We'll be retiring one and replacing it with a new value of the Church of Cora Horror that's going to help shift our focus for 2026. This is going to be our year. This is the year of the godless. So I wanted to talk a little bit with you guys about how these Mormons think that they are so holier than us. And it is just about the most hilarious thing. I was going to start out with an opening hymn. In fact, I think, my plan currently is that we will live stream some, if not all, of the event, sister. So don't you worry about that. That's currently the plan. But if people can make it in person, it's going to be a great event. We also will be doing an auction, a what do you call it, a secret auction, and also for those who can't really donate by bidding in the secret auction for some artwork, including some artwork by myself and several other artists who have donated their artwork to the art show so that we can raise funds for Cherish Families, which is an organization down in Colorado City, which, if you don't know, is where Warren Jeff's FLDS cult was based. And this event, Cherish Families, or this organization, they make sure that women who are victims of domestic violence, particularly women and children who have been victims of the FLDS, they don't really market it that way, but that's what everybody knows. That they make sure that they get access to things like blankets. Now, we recently brought them a whole bunch of blankets that were donated to the Church of Korihor for our blanket drive that were really meant for kids. And I said, well, I don't run into a lot of kids out on the streets up in Salt Lake. And we said, and that's when Nikki said to me, where there are a lot of kids who could use blankets like these ones down in Colorado, over in Colorado City, which is not far from where I'm based right now in St. George. And so I said, let's go. We went out, we met with the people at Cherish Families. They were so great. And basically, all these women who work at these, excuse me, at these organizations, between that and the Dream Center, they're either former wives of polygamists or the daughters and children of polygamists who are now trying to reclaim their future from the cult of the FLDS. And now I told them, I said, look, we sure would love to help you guys. We're going to have this event. We were going to use it to raise funds for the Dream Center, which, if you don't know, was founded by a number of people, but ex-polygamists, including one of the wives of Warren Jeffs, who is reclaiming her future from polygamy. But we went to them and they said, we are doing great. Take that over to Dream Center, to Cherish Families. They're doing the work that they're doing, that frontline work. So we went over there and they were ecstatic to get our help. And I said, we're going to be talking to you. So we haven't officially set up the arrangement that we can promote them, but I'm just telling you now, we're going to be doing this. Whatever donations we're going to raise, we're going to get them to benefit directly to this organization and help these women and these families to get out from underneath the boot of Warren Jeffs and these polygamous a-holes. And this is so central to everything that we started the Church of Korihor for. If you want to help pitch in, there's been quite a bit of expense put up to make sure that we have the space and all the materials for this event in February. You guys want to pitch in a little bit and help out, I certainly would appreciate it. A simple challenge. I'd love it if everybody could give $5 by going to korihor.org/give. And or even just go to korihor.org. There's a button right there. First button is give. And just use the form there. Even just $5 would help out. If we got enough of it, help us to do events like these now and in the future. And we're just getting started, man. The Church of Korihor is blowing going. We finally passed 1,000 followers on YouTube. Big accomplishment. About to blow through 6,000 followers on TikTok, if TikTok continues to exist. And this is going to be our year, guys. We're taking off. So in any event, we're going to start with, let's just jump right into the content. So you guys may have seen this here. But once again, February 22nd, plan that out. Yeah, I think I covered everything there. Yeah. Also, there will be art that you can purchase there, like art prints and stuff. And all the proceeds are going to Cherish Families. And so this is the story. Let me pull this up for you. In fact, share screen. This is going to be a little bit podunk. Sometimes on Fridays we do this. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Mormons are going ballistic today about a new report, a work paper filed on census.gov that says that basically people who get divorced, their children wind up being criminals and hoes who ruin their entire lives, and that's such great news for them, paradoxically, because everybody knows Mormons don't get divorced. And their little victory lap is so absurd because it's so clear, as is often the case with any kind of study that's published like this of any kind, that they did not even bother to crack open the actual research and look at it. I'm going to show you how I know that without having read all of it myself, because I just found out about it today. Went in, did a little bit of digging, and immediately said, yeah, I knew it had to be something like that. So let me show you this clip. Somebody holler at me in the comments if you can't see it once I get it going here, which is going to be 1, 2, 3. Okay, here we go.
Into adulthood. For example, the working paper found that divorce in early childhood reduced children's income in their mid to late 20s by 9 to 13%. Teen birth rates among children of divorce jumped 63% following the split compared to pre-divorce levels.
Holy cow.
60.
Holy cow.
That was one of the most shocking. And then it says the risk of early death before 25 increased by 35 to 55% at the time of divorce. And
okay, first of all, you guys know that I love to give free advice to the Mormon creators space, right? And remind you all, dude, Hayden, considering you're talking about allegedly the destruction of people's entire lives being derailed on account of divorce. I'm going to show you in a minute why that's bullshit. Considering that's the way that's what the claim is that you're making right here, you're kind of amped. I don't know if you realize this about yourself. You're grinning and laughing through the whole thing. And it's like, if this were true, and you were sitting there grinning and laughing as a person who is divorced and one of many people who has been divorced, I got to say, man, it's kind of like you're trying to piss somebody off. So in any event, let's keep going a little bit, and then I'm going to show you why these Mormons are jacked about nothing.
And remained elevated for at least a decade, an impact comparable to lacking health insurance. Interesting. The sample group's incarnation rate of 0.46 in 2010 was 3 times higher than for children of always married parents. Divorce when children were between 5 and 20 increased incarceration rates, risk by 0.15 to 0.28 percentage points. So more likely to be incarcerated. And then it says, additionally, experiencing the divorce of their parents before the age of 18 lowered the likelihood of living away from home while attending college by 4 percentage points. Okay, so not a ton. But then it says the younger they are, and this is crazy. So it says the outcomes were worse for children whose parents divorced in early childhood, ages 0 to 5, compared to siblings who experienced a parental divorce in adulthood. Early childhood divorce said increased teen births by roughly 60%, increased the likelihood of incarceration by 40%, increased mortality risk by the age of 25 by 45%, reduced income like we talk about. Anyways.
A lot of men don't know this, but the best way.
Sorry, here we are. Okay, so you get the gist of it. Basically, the claim that the Mormons are circulating right now is that Mormons don't get divorced. Everybody else gets divorced, and your kids are all going to end up poor. They're all going to end up pregnant as teenagers. They're all going to end up behind bars because they're not Mormons. And that's basically how these Mormons are celebrating this new data from the census, of all things, from the government, numbers from the government. Well, as you might have guessed, no, these Mormons are full of shit. Big surprise. And I thought it was funny because I'm going to open this thing up. I'm going to take one look at it, and I'm going to be able to see right away that Mormons don't know how to read how to read studies. You'll notice that they were just reading they weren't reading the study. They were reading this breakdown about the study on census.gov, which, by the way, I will say they shouldn't be allowed to publish this study and summarize it in that way like they did, because people will go and they will read it, think this is a government research project, and that the government has proven that, people who are non-Mormons and therefore all divorced have destroyed their children's entire lives, should feel terrible about themselves, should have gotten married in the temple where God makes sure that your wife can't leave you even if you treat her like an asshole. So here's what actually happens. Let me go ahead and pull up their screen. This paper, named by the actual creators of this paper, it's called Divorce Paper. I'm going to pull it up here. This is how they named it. All right. Now, let's see. I'm going to figure this thing out, man. Okay. Some of you will be able to read this. Those of you who are on mobile, it will be a little bit difficult. Sorry for that. Okay. There's reading a summary of a paper. Then there's reading the paper. I went through, I looked at this paper, and as is always the case, whenever a Mormon says, now this study done by the government, done by such and such institution, by the great, august, and esteemed researchers at the blah, blah, blah institute, completely and wholly unrelated to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's verified even by Mammon. You go and you look at the members of that study, and lo and behold, they're Mormons. They're all Mormons. In this study, the people who put this study together, let me just scroll up to the top here, are Andrew C. Johnston, Maggie R. Jones, and Nolan G. Pope. The name of the study, if you want to look it up, is Divorce, Family Arrangements, and Children's Adult Outcomes, published in September 22nd, 2025, but they're only apparently just circulating it now. I haven't been able to confirm on Maggie R. Jones. I know for a fact now, after having looked up their credentials, that both Andrew C. Johnston and Nolan G. Pope graduated from Brigham Young University and have it on good authority, at least on one of them, that he is a dick. But ad hom, so let's not go there. Basically, anybody who would publish a study basically saying, look, if you get divorced, you are the worst, and you destroyed your children's lives, shame on you. You should have been Mormon. If you can imagine that person, this is the person that you're talking about. Just take my word for it. But let's not let that mire the work. Let's go and actually read this. So I'm just going to read you a little piece of this. If they had bothered, these Mormons, because I'm telling you, if Quick Media hasn't done something on this today, they're going to do it soon. As soon as one of them does it, they all hitch up to this wagon. If they had opened up the file and actually read it, they could get to this section here called Empirical Challenges in Literature. Now, these Mormons at least know that they want their paper to get their research paper to get published. If you're going to publish research in any field, and these are people who have, I said a moment ago, they graduated, these two guys, they graduated from BYU. They also went to real schools and became economists. And kudos to them. They know that if they don't point these things out, somebody's going to point it out for them. But obviously it's not going to be a problem. Now, first things first, this study has not been peer reviewed. So that's the first red flag. Now, of course, it's a work paper, so you probably wouldn't expect that. Peer review is going to be something more for journal publication, something for publication to a wider market, and something that's supposed to actually prove something. This kind of work paper, it doesn't prove anything. In fact, it's at best a kind of throw shit against the wall and see if anything sticks to try and prime the pump for maybe getting some research money together to do a real study. This is not a real study. Basically, it took a bunch of already published data, tried to rehash some links to basically come up with these long hypotheses that say that should be for something really general, right? Like, kids, families with divorce are at an increased risk for PTSD or something like that, or CPTSD, something like that. Instead, they came out with these claims about these kids who get claims like kids whose parents get divorced are more likely to become pregnant as teenagers. They're more likely to end up not going away to school. They're more likely to wind up incarcerated in jail, in prison, and they're more likely to be poor. And it's kind of like, ouch. These are quite some ostentatious claims, and they are all total bullshit. This paragraph right here is the part where if you are full shit, you go on and you say, oh, by the way, we're full of shit. This is 2.3 empirical challenges in literature. I'm just going to start reading it to you in the way that they have written it so that you see why I'm about to read it to you a little bit differently. First, everybody hear me okay over there? Everybody see what we're doing here? Okay. These theoretical frameworks suggest various channels through which divorce might affect children. However, empirically measuring these effects presents several challenges. Studies consistently document differences in outcomes between children of divorced and married parents, such and such study, such and such, such and such. But establishing the causal effect of divorce on children faces three key obstacles. Study. It says Harris et al. I am curious. I haven't looked at these yet. I am curious that Sam Harris, or I think Annika Harris, does studies on similar to that. Anyways, first, retrospective surveys, which form the basis of much early research, suffer from small samples and recall bias. Okay, I'm going to stop there. You see what I'm saying about, wow, snooze fest, right? Okay, I said I am going to put even the diligent and good researchers at the Church of Korihor to sleep reading them this section of the document, even though it's basically got everything that you need to show that this is BS. So I decided, since Fridays we like to have a little bit of fun, that I would go ahead and ask ChatGPT to translate this study ease into real English. And ChatGPT did not disappoint. So I'm going to share screen here now. This is just mainly for fun, but the point is the same. This is how you're going to know these guys are full of shit. Okay. This is the same section that I was just telling you about as translated into the people's vernacular. Thanks, ChatGPT. It goes like this. Researchers have lots of fancy theories about how divorce might mess with kids. Great. The problem is that actually proving any of this in the real world is a statistical nightmare. Yes, study after study shows that kids from divorced families tend to do worse than kids from married families. But that alone proves absolutely nothing about cause and effect. There are three big reasons why this research is so damn hard to get right. Thanks, ChatGPT. First, a lot of early studies relied on people remembering their childhoods years or decades later, which is basically asking humans to be accurate historians of their own trauma. Spoiler, they aren't. The samples were small, memories were fuzzy, and the data was garbage. Second, even better, modern data sets still screw up the basics. They often can't pin down when parents actually separated, how long things were unstable before the divorce, or what separation even means in practice. So researchers are working with timelines that are, at best, blurry guesses. Third, and this is the real killer, Divorce doesn't happen in a vacuum. Families that end up divorcing are usually already dealing with money problems, conflict, mental health issues, or chaos long before the paperwork is filed. So when you compare kids of divorced parents to kids of married parents, you're not just comparing divorce versus no divorce, you're comparing entire life environments, and pretending otherwise is statistically dishonest. This is their own paper translated into the people's English. In short, the effects people blame on divorce might actually be caused by everything that made the marriage implode in the first place. Oh, gee, really, I wonder what a marvel. And untangling that mess is the whole point of this paper. Gee, it almost seems like in their own paper, they're suggesting, well, I mean, while it's true that statistically studies have been done to show that children of divorce are more likely to do poorly, it turns out the divorce may not be the problem. And in fact, the divorce might be the solution to making sure that they actually have a better life. This is in their own research. They just wrote it in a way that a Mormon will glaze right over it. Recent work has attempted to address these challenges by using quasi-experimental designs. Early evidence from Gruber 2004 exploits state-level variation in divorce laws during the 1970s, finding that exposure to unilateral divorce laws reduced children's educational attainment and adult well-being, including higher suicide risk. Subsequent studies have developed novel approaches using other sources of plausibly exogenous variation in divorce. Halmetal 2024 used difference in differences around divorce. I'm not really sure how. I may have actually put that. I may have written that down wrong or copied it down wrong. Around divorce events to show negative effects on children's test scores, both immediate and long term. Herdegard 2024 finds that restricting access to divorce improves children's human capital formation on average. Okay. But all those don't tell us anything about, again, tell you anything about cause and effect. It tells you that there's something to pay attention to inside those studies. So fair enough. Brimmel et al. In instrument for divorce using workplace sex compositions and find that induced divorces reduce children's educational and labor market success, most closely related to our approach. Laird used within family variation to study divorce effects on psychiatric treatment and children's schooling outcomes, finding negative effects on secondary school enrollment, completion, and mental health. Our studies build on this work by examining both the immediate changes of family circumstance and a broad set of adult outcomes, including college attendance, earnings, incarceration, teen births, and mortality. I realize now that what I've actually done is I may have actually copied and pasted the wrong thing. I did. Sorry. Allow me to read you the rest. Sorry. This is I screwed up. If I didn't screw up, I wouldn't be human anymore. Okay. This is the actual continuation. Because the old research was such a mess, newer studies have tried to be clever and sneak closer to cause and effect by using quasi-experiments, which is academic code for we found something in the real world that kind of behaves like an experiment. Please don't yell at us. One early attempt did this. You see how much easier this is? One early attempt did this by exploiting the fact that different states changed their divorce laws at different times in the 1970s. That study found that when divorce became easier, kids ended up with less education and worse adult outcomes, including a higher risk of suicide. In other words, when divorce laws changed, kids' lives changed too, and not in a cute way. Other researchers have since tried different angles. Some looked at what happens to kids right before and after their parents' divorce and found their test scores drop immediately and stay lower long term. Others looked at countries or policies that make divorce harder and found, awkwardly, that kids tend to do better overall when it's harder for parents to split. One especially spicy study used the gender makeup of parents' workplace. Yes, really, to predict divorce, and found that divorces triggered this way tank kids' education and job prospects. The study most similar to this one compared siblings within the same family, kids who were older versus younger when the divorce happened, and found worse mental health and schooling outcomes for those exposed earlier. So, what are these authors doing? They're taking all that work and saying, cool, let's go bigger. They're not just looking at school test scores or therapy visits, they're tracking whether kids go to college, how much money they make, whether they end up incarcerated, whether they have kids as teenagers, and whether they die young. In short, this paper isn't just asking, does divorce hurt kids? It's asking, how deep does the damage go once these kids grow up and try to function in the adult world? Again, that was how the people, the Mormons who put this study together, describe their own research. It's basically, so don't yell at us. We can't actually prove anything with the data we have. Because if you can imagine, so they have all this data from these various studies in small groups, small numbers, small sample sizes, and where they track kids of divorced parents over the years. And lo and behold, nobody thought, oh, you know what we'll do? We'll follow up with these kids when they're adults, show up on their front doorstep with a clipboard and said, hi, are you the children of so-and-so who split up? Yeah, that's you, right? Okay, here you go. We wondered for science if you would answer a few questions. Number one, was it you? Are you the problem? Oh, that's what they told you? You believe that? Okay. Okay. Do your parents have any money or sexual problems? What do you mean you don't know? Just think back. Was what, 10, 15 years ago? You're a grown up now. Come on. Your parents have any problems? You know your parents had problems. What are your parents' problems? Okay, whatever. I guess we'll come back to that. No, of course they're not going to go out and collect data like that. There's first of all, who's to say the kids are going to have any data for them to collect? Who, what kind of shitty parents are putting it all out there for their kids to see all of their problems or what was actually going on behind closed doors? Number one. Number two, when we're children, we don't know what our problems are. Hell, we don't know what our problems are most of the time when we're adults. We don't know what's going on with us and what our feelings are and what causes us, motivates us to behave certain ways. You certainly can't just go to them and just start asking them all this qualitative information about, hey, did you wind up going out there and getting knocked up, and was it mom and dad's fault when you were in high school or whatever? Okay. So what they actually did was this. And they know this is a problem. They took one set of data, which is the tax filings of these people, the test subjects. And they looked at the first years, they looked at the years of tax filings of groups of people, not necessarily the same people, but generally groups of people, just like a snapshot of people as they could get it. And they'd take a study of people, a group of people, and they looked at if they had dependents, and based upon when they were born and the age of their dependents, when they filed their taxes, whether or not that child had been born within the ages, within that person being age 13 to age 19, or in other words, a teen pregnancy. Nobody, I'm guessing, asking, hey, are you a Mormon who got married at 18? I'd love to know, gentlemen, brethren, what the statistical reality is of people in your study who were Mormons and had kids at 17 and 18 years old. And are those teen pregnancies? Because the metrics you're using there seem to indicate it. Here's the problem. You're filing, and they even disclose this in the study, but they disclose it so that, nobody in their fan base is going to find it. In the small group where they looked for people who had filed their taxes and shown and listed dependents who were a certain age so that those children were born in the years when the parent was a teenager, namely between 13 and 19. They didn't have any means to ask the question of, did this person marry a person who already had kids? Did this person adopt a child? Or did this person have dependents that were their younger siblings or somebody else in their life? So they just have to factor in a margin of error in here that says we have a small sample group already, and we're going to try and determine the outcome, how this is related to based upon these dependents, of whether or not they have dependents that were born when they were a teenager. And we'll just call it fuzzy math and say, X number of these is a margin of error because they, some people have dependents that aren't their kids, aren't kids that they carried when they were teenagers. And it's like, this is how bad the data is. Besides the fact that their sample size was too small, they weren't collecting the data. They're gleaning somebody else's data. And they're trying to come up with these, extrapolate. Okay, so what's happening here is that you've got a bunch of people who have young dependents and are themselves young. And that's because their parents were divorced. And it's like, that's some pretty shit data, dude. That is some really bad data. And so, yeah, that. And then the other part of it was they took census data. You guys remember how the census is done, right? The idea of census data is to update congressional maps. The government by constitution has to update its maps, and yet and by who lives in the households and so on and so forth, and what areas and so forth. And of course, every time that it gets done, you have right wingers who come out of the woodwork to say, "Oh, the government doesn't need all this data about us. Don't give them any of your data. Don't tell them anything about you. The government only wants information so that Big Brother can spy on you." It's like, guy, they got every text message you ever sent. They know everything you ever looked up on Pornhub. They know everything about you, dude. You can tell them how many people live in the house so that they can update the congressional maps, guy. Come on. So they took census data, which is one day they show up, collect the data of who lives in the house that day and where. And they use that to determine on that data how many people in said households, in a certain sample group of households, were incarcerated, and how many were technically incarcerated at the time, and how many were in college and were there because we're in the area because they were at college, and said, well, here you go. We can take from that and extrapolate with this picture that we've created of what divorced kids look like to determine that kids of divorces don't go to college, and they end up in prison. And that's basically the synopsis of the data these guys are pulling. Even they admit it's shitty, it's shitty data. And it's really not meant to be a study. It's not a study. It's a work paper published on census.gov. Now, I'll be the first to say, you'd think if it's on census.gov and it uses data from the census, that it's government research and it's decent-ish research because it's government numbers. Turns out that's not exactly true. Because the third person, remember I showed you, you guys saw it, right? The third person that I mentioned, I don't know that person. Fair is fair. There's a woman, or a person I assume is a woman, hopefully correct, named Maggie R. Jones. I don't know if Maggie, I couldn't confirm that Maggie is Mormon or not. And again, the other guys, I know that they are Mormon, likely Mormon, or were Mormon at some point because they went to BYU. And I happened to contact, in one case, somebody who I discovered knows him and could confirm, oh yeah, that guy's Mormon as the day is long. In fact, it's the main guy. And he's like, yep, He's the morning the day is long, and not a nice one. He's a bit of a dick. Yeah. And can confirm. Looks that way to me, anyways. I didn't meet him. I saw his social media post, and oh my. hmm hmm Yeah, this one's Mormon. But look, the data is what needs to speak. And then it makes sense who collected the data and how. So when you hear from somebody, next time you're at Thanksgiving dinner or some other holiday, and someone chimes in, someone Mormon family member chimes in with, "Oh, did you see this? They have a study completely unrelated to the church. They have a study completely unrelated to the church that shows that if you get divorced, your children will grow up to be pregnant while they're still in high school. They've been able to show it with the numbers." Once again, they haven't. They admitted they haven't, and nobody bothered to look it up. But I guarantee you, somebody in that guy's ward or one of these guys' wards took that link and started passing it around or quoted it from some sacrament meeting talk, and now everybody's just passing it around and then reading the summary that they've put on the page, which I have to say, seeing the way it was written on the summary was written on the page, it is disturbingly misleading. This data is nowhere near as conclusive as they want to pretend that it is. They just know that most of the people who care and will pass this shit around aren't going to open up the actual document and read about how even they know the mountains of challenges to all the ways in which the collection of this data and the way that they extrapolate their conclusions are flawed. It is bad math. They don't care. I mean, obviously, I don't know them personally, but pretty clear to me they just don't care. So I just think it's funny. I think it's funny when people who don't math try to math. It's like when flat earthers try to science. I don't get it. It's like, are you flat earthers really going to try and science with me today? Uh, anyways, how you guys doing? I mentioned, sorry for eating my ice cream. I'm in Phoenix today. My dear beloved nephew is on leave from the army, and I have a chance to sit and visit with him. Going to go and talk to him. My niece, who is his sister, is also here with us celebrating and announced to us today that she got married 6 months ago. Nobody even knew. And so we're excited for them. They wanted to have something, a small private ceremony, and I'm pretty happy. I'm really happy for them. So it's been a great day in the extended Rollins household, and we're celebrating. So, oh, I mentioned before I was going to do the Ammon Bundy thing. Let's do this. Yeah, I think I'm going to show you some updates on the Nick Shirley case because it is. Here we go. We're going to find this. Core horror. I think it's on my desktop. So you guys know that Nick Shirley, Mr. Minnesota Daycare Center fraud, his mother is a woman named Brooke Shirley. And I've been following her ever since I found out that she's out there grifting even more serious grifts than he is. And I've been collecting them, and apparently I have misfiled them. Yeah. Oh, wait. Is this it? No. Horror. I gotta make more small folders, you guys. It's Kai Schwemmer. I threw all that stuff away, Kai Schwemmer. Well, maybe we'll get Ammon Bundy while I look for something here. Hayden Paul. Nick, Shirley, and Shane. No, I already did that. Ward Radio. Latter Daily Saints about Nick, Shirley being beautiful and righteous. This is fun. We don't have time to go through all this stuff. Let's do Ammon Bundy for now. And then I'll see if I can find some more. I have it here somewhere. I may have accidentally deleted it. Okay.
I mean, it's almost impossible for them to get back in. And so that's what we're doing. And we're doing it.
Hey, Jules. Good to see you. Okay, so you guys know who Ammon Bundy is, right? Ammon Bundy is Ammon Bundy. I was in the comments every chance I could get asking Ammon if he knew whether or not Morgan Philpott, I sometimes call Mormon crackpot, is mounting an insurrection against the government. That's kind of been what he's been insinuating. If you don't know, Morgan Philpott is the lawyer who got this guy off when the family of that guy who lost his life, when they took over a bird reserve, a wildlife reserve in the Pacific Northwest, and held it for a few days, and then realized if you're going to occupy a piece of federal territory, the FBI knows that you're not going to go in there with enough food and water and medicine to outlast. So they'll just camp out and wait for you to come out. Because why risk the chance of getting hurt going in after you when they can just sit there and wait for you to come out and say, hey, do you guys have any insulin? Hey, do you guys have any food or water? And then so they started asking people to send them donations. And so people went on that website, bagadicks.com, I think it's called, and started sending them like suckers shaped like penises. It's like, eat up, boys. That's this guy and his lawyer. So that guy who then they tried to bust out in an SUV, because that definitely isn't going to be a problem. As far as I understand, the FBI just threw out caltrops or a spike strip or something, and they ran over it, and then they and Ammon Bundy basically gave up at that point. If he can't drive away, fucked if he's going to run. And then his boy, and I forget the guy's name now. Somebody will come up with it in the comments. His boy is another Mormon guy who's, the righteous hand of the priesthood of God, made a run for the woods. And when the FBI said, well, I guess we have to chase that one, and sent agents to chase after them, he turned around, reached in his pocket like he was reaching for a gun, and they shot him. And lo and behold, the reason why we're made to understand, and probably is true, that he reached in his pocket was he had a gun there. And it's like, and so that guy died. His widow sued Ammon Bundy or pressed charges against him, saying that he got her husband killed. And it was Morgan Philpott who got the criminal charges against Ammon Bundy, other Bundy, unrelated, I think. I still haven't found any connections to them and the other Bundys. Ted and them. I don't know that it exists. He got Ammon Bundy off for the criminal charges, and then in the lawsuit, got him off on that too. So Morgan Philpott, turns out, may not be a terrible lawyer. As I understand it, still, he is no longer an attorney. That guy, the attorney, started late 2024, I want to say. They started posting online whole videos of this guy talking for like 2 hours and more, opening up the Book of Mormon and making predictions about the end of the world. And they included things like that. He predicted at one point that Donald Trump wouldn't survive through the election, which, as you can tell, is not true, unless the one who's up there now is just a decoy. Maybe, MS-13, is using holograms to whatever. I don't know what they do these days, what people think they do these days, but whatever. It's the Illuminati or something. I don't know. But he gets up there and he starts predicting about the outcome of the election, which, by the way, he got wrong. He's going about a major rebellion that was going to kick up in America, which, by the way, he was wrong. He made all these predictions, and of course, they're all wrong. But nevertheless, people were paying like $100 and what did we decide at the end of the day? $150, $175 a head to sit here and watch this man read the Book of Mormon and predict and use it to predict the end of the world. And the whole time he's been doing that, guess what? I found an interview on Rumble that he did early last year, in which he was asked, "So you do this, and you're a lawyer, Ammon Bundy's lawyer," and he said, "Well, actually, I haven't renewed my bar association since I started doing podcast appearances." Like, okay. He got into something went down. He's no longer practicing law. He's selling people the end of the world instead and using the Book of Mormon because, charlatans never change. In any event. So now this horrible action going on in Minnesota is going down. And apparently Ammon Bundy served there when he was a missionary. I did not know that. I don't know why I would know that. Ammon Bundy doesn't want anybody mentioning that he, in September, yes, Lavoy Finkham. Yes, Lavoy Finkham. Thank you, Tim, sir. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly right. Lavoy Finkham was the guy who passed away when he pulled a gun on the FBI. Imagine that. And very sad. So sorry for his family. Sorry for their loss. But I mean, that was a dumb move. That was a really dumb move. But then this okay, so now he wants to weigh in on this controversy that's happening in Minnesota because I'm sorry. Let me update. As of last September, if I'm not mistaken, the judge has ordered that the bankruptcy that Ammon Bundy has filed to try and protect himself from having to pay St. Luke's Medical Center, for defamation after he went out and shut down this medical center's parking lot because he claimed that they had kidnapped the child of his friend, when what had happened actually was that his friend had brought his son in for attention, a small baby or grandson in for some medical attention, like he wasn't able to keep his bowels or something terribly tragic. And they said this child is disturbingly underweight and undernourished and dehydrated. We have to call DCFS or Idaho's Department of Child Safety, and they did, and then they apparently took this child into foster care until they could sort out how it is that this child went so long without proper nutrition. So, of course, Ammon Bundy, who was at that time running for governor of Idaho, got together a bunch of people in his network where people were paying him monthly to be a part of an online network of people who would rant about the end of the world and how they, as Mormons, called upon by God to save the Constitution when it's hanging by a thread, blah, 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 blah. They were paying him either monthly or quarterly, I believe, or annually. They're paying him for membership of this website where they could go on and play boy hero, boy soldier, and they were making millions of dollars doing this, he and his boys. And St. Luke's, after they had to start telling people who had appointments at this medical center, turn around and go home. They've got crazy loonies, camped out in front of our doors, and they're not letting anybody in. And we don't know how crazy they are. We're sure that some of them are armed. We don't know if they're going to hurt somebody. So they started having to turn people away, which of course he claims it isn't. Then Ammon Bundy and his boys started making all kinds of accusations about how insinuating that because the guy who owns or is the administrator for St. Luke's is Jewish, etc. You can figure out the rest. So in any event, judge ordered him to pay, I think it was something like $50 million, upwards of $50 million in restitution to St. Luke's Medical Center, which, good. And he's got the money. And apparently, this is the kind of money that these grifters are making, selling these Mormons on that. Yeah, it's the end of the world. You can see why they're always now having a rapture or the end of the world. They're making millions of dollars at this. And so he ordered him to pay something like $50 million. Ammon Bundy comes out and says, I don't have that kind of money. What kind of guy do you guys think I am? They're like, well, he was running for governor, and that's mostly private funds. You can use some of that money. No, I can't. That's my campaign money. Yeah, okay. You're out of the campaign now, guy. So they start going over all of his assets and saying, okay, you can try and funnel these assets around, but we know what's up. Okay. We understand. We know what it looks like when somebody tries to hide their money. You have the money, or at least some of it. We're going to get as much of it as we can because you did dirty to this medical center. And he's been fighting it by basically filing bankruptcy and saying he doesn't have money for I want to say it's something like 2 years now. And just last fall, he got the order from the judge saying, yeah, no, this can't be counted in the bankruptcy. You're going to have to pay. Now he wants people to see him doing something else. So he's basically back on the grift. Likely, I don't know for sure. I don't think he's in Nevada. Some people it's been suggested that he has been in southern Utah this entire time. He may be going back and forth between Nevada and Utah, figuring that the Idaho won't extricate him to Idaho to face charges, which apparently is true. They just want his money at this point.
The government's doing it and not restoring the victim back their damages. Their government is actually becoming bigger and more powerful, and more people in prison. That's why, statistics like this might blow you away, that you're 12 times more likely to be put in prison or in jail in the United States of America than you are in communist China. 12 times more likely.
Now, just to point out here, he's talking about Minnesota. He's talking about ICE raids. Whose side are you on, dude? I'm sitting here going, man, am I going to be on the same side with Ammon Bundy in my personal politics here? I certainly was not expecting that. But watch how he starts to kind of waffle.
Just don't look at the statistics if you think I'm wrong. Now, back to Minnesota, back to this violence, back to, is it tyranny or is it anarchy or is it just war? And again, come full circle that if this was happening to my family, I would certainly stand up against these people. Got some bikers here, we'll let them go by. I'd stand up to them and I'd protect my family the best I can.
He's talking about
I
ICE.
certainly wouldn't be burning any buildings. I mean,
He's
and I
talking about
wouldn't
the
be
protesters.
burning any cars unless they were ICE cars. Maybe I'd burn an ICE car or two. I don't know.
Who's burning cars right now? Has anybody out there heard about anybody setting cars on fire? What the hell are you on about?
I mean, call me an anarchist, but I wouldn't do it just to burn it. If it was in defense, then I would do it. Defense of my family.
Again,
Just don't look at the statistic. Someone that probably
crap.
has nothing to do with any of it.
Okay. Again, nobody suggested this, Ammon. He's imagining these scenarios. He's just coming up with it off the top of his head. What would I do? Would I burn down some buildings? Would I light some cars on fire? I mean, if I thought that I could it's like, dude, are we watching you play out your boy soldier fantasy right
My liberty, I would do it. I wouldn't do it, just to destroy it. And what sense does it do burning a building? I mean, that building's owned by somebody. Now you are being a criminal. Now You're just burning somebody's property, someone that probably has nothing to do with any of it.
None of this is happening. This is all just inside Ammon Bundy's brain.
And that's just ridiculous. Why would you do that? That's not correct. That's not the right way to handle things.
If you look carefully in the comments, the live comments, you will see Hellfire Agency. What? Asking, are you in St. George? Come on, Ammon, whatever. You've got opinions about Minnesota. Who cares, dude? Are you in St. George right now, or are you back in Nevada?
Now, the final question is this just war? And I think there's a lot of argument to that, because war often looks like tyranny and it often looks like anarchy. But basically, it's one power trying to dominate or control another power, or trying to control land, or trying to control a policy or something like that.
My man is literally trying to define, like fumbling around trying to find a functional definition of what war means, so that he can justify to his followers whether or not he supports taking up arms against the government again, whether or not in the case of protecting protesters in Minneapolis, again, a place he is nowhere near and has no real connection to, apart from apparently he served his mission there, I don't know, 50 billion years ago. And it's like if I got up here and started ranting about the politics in Peru and start saying, I mean, what would I do? Would I go down there and dance on Fujimori's grave? I mean, I might. It's like, who cares, dude? Talk about what's going on now in your world, guy. And it's just wild to me. And he's sitting here just ranting, literally just coming up with questions to ask himself, to try and explain why in the end, spoiler alert, he's going to come to the conclusion that he would not resist the government, but he's just going to sit here and rant about all the reasons why he's considering it.
That's usually how war is. And I would like to point out that for, I don't know, at least the last decade, we have had these two powers that are fighting against each other. Some people call them left, some people call them right, or left and right. Some might call them even Republican, Democrat, so forth. But really what's going on is you have the communist, socialist,
of course,
I would say theologists that are pushing for a different system of government.
Oh my God.
And trying to tear down, because that's how communism is, right? You have to have socialism, which we already have. We are a socialist country.
That's what
it is.
What?
Socialism is when the government controls the means of production. Okay.
God. I mean, he can't even get the basic. Oh man. It's like, dude, what are you doing right now? Just quote Cleon Skousen's The Naked Communists. Let's get out of here. Quote the Klan or something.
Okay. That means the businesses and the land and the resources. And you cannot tell me that the government doesn't control the means of production. They don't own the means of production. They don't own the businesses.
You just said you weren't saying that, dude. He just said he wasn't saying, and now he's saying what he said he wasn't saying.
That's communism, when they nationalize and begin owning it. Now, there are parts of communism, such as the Western United States, 50% of the land and 71% of the natural resources in the United States, in Western United States.
I don't know if anybody can read that on StreamYard. I can't read my own comment on here, but I think I asked him what government. I think I asked him, "Do you support Donald Trump?" I think somebody else asked him that actually. Anyways,
States is under a communist form of government, but the businesses and the property and the land is still owned by the people, at least in title, but is controlled by the government. That's socialism. And you have to have socialism in order to move into communism. And so
you literally do not. Just tell me you don't know what the hell you're talking about without talking about. Oh, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. There's never been a socialist government that transitioned into a communist government ever, dude. Oh my gosh. It's fun to watch him just kind of fall apart. Let's watch a few more minutes of this, then we'll get caught up on another story.
And that's what I think President Trump is doing. I think he is a nationalist. I cannot understand it any other way. I do not understand this, what he's doing now. I understand rounding up criminals, but you're not a criminal unless you've infringed upon somebody's life, liberty, and property. And I understand, enforcing the protection.
Just so I don't get shut down for misinformation, that is not the jurisprudence at all on what constitutes a crime. I'm just saying, okay? Yes, the basics should be that you have certain rights enumerated under the law, but there's so many more than what are just written down in the Declaration of Independence. Dude, we created a whole constitution. We have 250 plus years of case law. It's like, what are you talking about, man?
Of life, liberty, and property. But I do not understand in any way just rounding up people that are good workers and producing and peaceful. I do not believe.
You see that flip-flop? It's like he's not just ranting against ICE's operations in Minneapolis right now. Now he's basically he's ranting against immigration enforcement, full stop.
In punishing peaceful residency. And I think it's wrong. I've written about this, and I'll leave some of the things I've written about this in the comments here. When I'm done with this video, I'll put it in there and you can read the history of migration, the constitutional principles, how it devolved.
Again, at this point, it's sounding like he's against Donald Trump and he's against the Trump administration. Like here's Mr. Man who went up supposedly against the Obama regime, the Obama administration, and lost, and is the son of Cliven Bundy, who also went up against the Obama administration and lost. Remember that? Do I even need to recall any of that for you guys? And now he's up there talking. It's sounding like he'll do the same to Trump. He doesn't care.
To where we're at now. And basically, it's an argument that people that come to this country peacefully have the rights and blessings and freedoms of anybody else in this country. And
it's almost like I want to agree with this guy. I almost want to hit him with an amen and say, yeah, leave our people alone, man. Why have you got to come after these guys? They're real criminals. They discovered a criminal in the Epstein files who allegedly violated a 13-year-old girl and then disposed of her infant to cover up the tracks. They should go looking maybe for that guy. Whatever happened with that guy? Where's the investigation into that guy? No, not that. Don't mention
if you don't
that.
Like that. That's the way the founders believed, and that's what the Constitution was clearly about. And so, anyway, here we have this situation where you have the communist anarchists on one side that we might call left.
Don't look now. They're sending in the Blackhawk to get him. Dude, Bundy. Dude, you were just ranting about like George Washington and the founders, and now you're on again about communists. What are you doing, man?
or Democrat because they become
I'm gonna be blunt. I've made this before. I'm not saying that Ammon Bundy is on drugs. I'm just saying he's not sharing. Whatever it is, he's not sharing.
that. The Democrat Party has become that. And then we have the nationalists and the right or the Republicans on the other side. And
Did anybody just hear this man say the nationalists are the Republicans and are the right, are the right wing? In one sentence, said that, made that claim.
and they're battling. And how does that battle look like? It looks like Minnesota. That's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah. So now the conflict between protesters and counter protesters, like what's his name, Lang, Jake Lang. Oh my gosh, did you guys see that? Oh my gosh. Now the conflict between protesters and counter protesters and or ICE is between communism and freedom, also known as the Democrats versus Republicans. Dude, Ammon, just go home and give St. Luke's your money and go back to your life, man. Just go do whatever time you have left and just go home. It's just, you don't have to sit here and rant about the end of the world, man.
It looks like Minnesota. And it is what it is. I mean, it's not good in any way, but that's what it looks like. And we've seen it before. And they use each other as excuses. So the more tyranny, then you have more anarchy. And then because you have more anarchy, the nationalists say, well, we got to use more force and more power. And so they do it. And then the anarchists say, see, we have more tyranny. We got to fight back. And it just ends up escalating until someone is dominated in that incident. But
as we all know, as has been demonstrated in time, since time immemorial, again and again, the cycle of liberty, is refreshed with the blood of tyrants and patriots and blah blah blah.
this is a theological thing that's going on.
Oh, now it's God.
It's
good.
When
I
it
was
comes
hoping.
down to it,
I was so hoping we'd get God in on this now. Yes, please, Ammon Bundy, please make this one about Jesus.
it's a belief. It's a belief of an eternity view of what you truly believe about God, about good and bad, about right and wrong. And neither one of these parties are right. What is right is that an individual has rights given to them from God, and they're supposed to be unalienable, which means they are not to be alienated from you.
I sometimes fantasize that we will figure out a way to recapture the consciousness of long deceased people. This is the kind of things my autistic brain gets up to. And I think one day I'll sit down with Thomas Jefferson and say, first of all, you dick, I want to love you because you're so smart, but what a jerk. And then I'm going to say, secondly, watch this. Watch what happened because of what you said.
And that those rights include life, liberty, and property.
Nope. Nope. Not in Thomas Jefferson. But otherwise, yes, there have been natural rights, as I believe it's George, either George Wythe or George Mason. Yes, this is the idea behind why capitalism is supposed to be the American system, is that you have the right to life, liberty, and property. And yes, we do have a system that enforces private property rights. Okay, sure. But it's like, stay consistent. Who are you referring to, where, and what?
They include that. And all people that are born on this earth have a right to that. All people. Everybody. Not just citizens of the United States. Not just people in government. Not just law enforcement, if you will.
Yeah, nobody's suggesting otherwise. You're trying very hard not to say Renee could. Remember, on the one side, he's got to stick. Basically, this is what we're dealing with here. This guy has got to keep up his image. Oh, I can do that, and I can read my own comments. Dope. This guy's got to keep up his image as being like this hardened anti-government warrior, right? He's out here doing God's work to overthrow tyranny, except the tyrant right now, he can't name by name because the people who support him in this endeavor think that guy that he's labeling, doing everything, trying to do everything he can to avoid calling Donald Trump a tyrant, because he knows that his base thinks that Donald Trump is the savior. And yet he wants to say that the government is the tyrant. And he's got to walk this line. And it's the most absurd zigzag thing I think I've ever seen.
I hate that term. It's such a wrong term. Not just people that work for the government that enforce the law. It's a terrible term. Not just them. Everybody.
He can't speak for his supporters are for law enforcement. Unless it's law enforcement against them, then they're for anarchy. And he wants to make that about left and right, but it's a battle going on inside his own brain.
Everybody is given granted those rights from God, our Creator, for life, liberty, and property. And the only purpose, the sole purpose of government is to protect individual life, liberty, and property. To protect individual, not law enforcement officers. I don't know what else to say, because that's what they've become.
See, this is okay. See, did anybody else just hear that? Maybe, I mean, I wouldn't surprise me if you didn't follow that. He just basically made the case. I don't know if he even knows he made this case. The explanation he just gave is that if you are employed by the government to enforce the law, if you are law enforcement, like supposedly ICE, which really, I mean, you really can't say that ICE is law enforcement, but he's trying to make that case that if you work for ICE, that he's making the case that if you work for the government in any way enforcing the law, you abdicate your rights as a human being. You abdicate your natural rights, because people who are the ordinary people, civilians, can fight back and defend their rights, as he claims he's been able to do, as he surely thinks he's been able to do, despite the fact that every time this man has tried to stand up to the government, he has lost. And he has lost friends. He has buried his own friends, mounting little insurrections that wind up coming to nothing and who are over nothing. Do you know what that thing, that wildlife reserve, was all about? He had cattle rancher friends in the Pacific Northwest. I always forget if it's Washington or Oregon. He had cattle rancher friends who decided to do a burn to control some wildlife. It was some kind of pest infestation, according to them, that was irritating their cattle or something. And they decided to abate this pest themselves without going through the channels to ensure that wouldn't cause harm or spread wildfires, cause damage to the ecosystem. And so they got fined or something, or they had to face justice about having basically committed arson. And he decided to that whole thing was about that. It was about regulation, about government regulation, and then they wound up like taking over this wildlife preserve or whatever it was, and then discovering the hard way that it's not so easy to stage a rebellion with like a couple dozen guys who brought all the ammo in the world and nobody thought to bring food.
Not peace officers. I want to say peace officers, but that's not what they are. I want to say police officers, but that's not right either. But anyhow, but their lives are not the only one that matters. Not just the people in government. Their life, liberty, and property aren't the only one that matters. Everybody equally.
Okay, so now we're back to, don't worry if you're law enforcement in any way. Adam Bundy has changed his mind. He does think that you have the same rights as other citizens.
And I hate to say this, but including those who come to this country, they don't lose their rights just because they come here, just because of a policy that somebody puts in place in this country. I'm sorry, they don't.
Good energy. God, I can't believe I'm about to do this for the next like 6 or 10 seconds, probably. I agree with Ammon Bundy. Oh, God, it's the worst. It's the worst day for me. Oh, God.
Don't lose their rights. These come from God, our creator, and he has given to every.
No, it was like 2 seconds. Oh, my God. I mean, can you imagine what it's like to live inside this man's skull? I can't even imagine. It's like, dude, get back to work.
Everybody. And these rights extend beyond life, liberty, and property. They extend to the right to worship, the right to travel. I guess they fall under liberty. These fall under liberty. The right to trade with each other freely. These are.
Man just made a God-given right out of free trade agreements.
Core principles that we've just lost in this country. We've completely lost. We've been sucked into the polarization of communists and nationalists. And I'm telling you, don't get sucked in. Don't get sucked into this.
Nobody was even saying it, man. You were the only one talking. He's like, now we're all getting drawn into nationalism versus communism. We are? Okay, I guess we are. It's like, no, don't get sucked into it. Okay, I won't, Am.
Stand on what is right. Our Creator, God our Father, is not pleased with what is happening right now. He's not pleased with how we're treating each other. He's not.
Now the prophet Ammon is coming out. We got the prophet Ammon Bundy, called of God. Go on, give us the word. Give us the good word, Ammon.
I feel that deep in my heart. He's not pleased with the way that we're treating each other. We are allowing wicked, because both the nationalist view and the communist view, they're both spurred by Satan. They're both spurred by wickedness.
There are very bad people on both sides. You got it. I got it.
And the goal is to tear us apart. That is the goal, to destroy this great land, this promised land that has more natural resources than any other place in the world, that has been free, that is promised to be free.
America has more natural resources than any place in the world. We produce more oil than any country in the world. Anybody notice that? I don't think you're allowed to say that.
And it has spread freedom.
Now America is a good thing. Now we're a good thing again. Never mind making America great again. If you sit here and listen to Ammon Bundy talk long enough, America falls to tyranny, descends back into anarchy, and comes back great again in the space of like, what is this, like 10 minutes?
Don't fall into it. Don't allow yourselves to be deceived by the same power that is spurring the anarchists and the nationalists do not fall into that. And I guess that's kind of the message here. There's so many principles of free.
What is the message, Ammon? Button it up, guy. Bring it home. Let's get. We got like just a few seconds left in this clip and in this live broadcast. And then you're going to notice, as we get to the end, you're going to notice him looking over into the comments. I'm pretty sure of it. And he sees comments like mine. You'll see I have my comment here. Hellfire Agency says, "You're all over the place, Ammon. Did the devil or God send Trump?" And do you think I'm going to get an answer? Let's find out.
Freedom that are not understood anymore. And I would recommend you go read the Declaration of Independence. I mean, that's one of the greatest documents. The Declaration of Independence. Read it. Read it tonight. Search it up. The Declaration of Independence.
Yes, do. Read the Declaration of Independence. Please, somebody read the Declaration of Independence. Tell me about the complaints in the Declaration of Independence. I would love to see Ammon Bundy go over. No, I don't think I would, actually. I think I might go crazy.
Read it or listen to it. But it very clearly states that men and women were created by God, and that they were given by God these rights.
You notice he did just say, sorry, I'm stopping so much. It's just, this guy cracks me up. It terrifies me and he cracks me up. He said, go and look up and read the Declaration of Independence or listen to it. Listen to it. The document's like 2 pages long, guy. It's
and that the sole purpose of government is to secure those rights. And that when they stop doing that, people have a right to overthrow and put new guards in. I mean, that's exactly what it's saying. It's very...
We're getting to the message. The message is that Ammon Bundy is saying right now that with the hostilities between ICE and the protesters in Minnesota, that God has ordained and endowed that the citizens should take up arms against the Trump administration and overthrow the government. What are you saying right now, Ammon? I'm not saying it. Dear friends, I'm not saying that. I didn't say that. Ammon said it. Ammon Bundy is saying, is calling for revolution here. Okay, Ammon, you take up your title of liberty. Let's go, brother.
Very clear. The founders were amazing, amazing people, both men and women, that understood who God was, man's relationship to him, and God's relationship to man. And I leave that with some thought, and I really appreciate your time. And I do hope and pray that peace will come about in Minnesota and across this country. But I don't have hope in that unless we return to these principles that we built this country upon.
Don't pick a side.
Thank you.
Yeah, you are not welcome. God. I mean, do you see what I'm saying when I say this is it's crazy. It's crazy talk. It's like just watching a man. I have to admit, I have way too much fun with it. It is really funny. Let me see if I can find the Nick Shirley thing. Did you guys see that Nick Shirley testified before Congress yesterday? I have made videos, angry ones, guys, to Brooke Shirley, Nick Shirley's mom. I think I've pulled them all down now, where I blatantly ask her, who is this boy's mother? Because they are trying to get this poor kid arrested. They're determined, I think, to believe that nobody is going to prosecute him if he lies. He gets up there in front of Congress this week. Nick Shirley, Mr. Minnesota daycare centers who's been totally debunked. I'm not the first one. I'm not the last. And he's been totally debunked in basically making the accusation that Somali immigrants are behind all of the fraud that's happening in Minnesota and that they're using daycare centers and autism treatment and ABA therapy centers to basically bankrupt Minnesota. And they're doing it because they hate America. And it's been debunked again and again. And now he's gone out there, he's going up in front of Congress and just spewing the same thing over and over again. He's just determined, I guess, that nobody's going to press charges against him for lying, for making false statements. But here's the thing. I'm not sure what the statute of limitations is on making false statements. As far as I know, there isn't one, as far as I know. But yes, it's probably true right now. Nobody's going to press charges if he turns out he lied. By the way, making false statements, I verified this. I'm not an attorney, but I verified this by looking it up. That's whether or not they have you stand up and take the oath. If you make a statement knowing that it is false before Congress, it's a violation of the law, and you can find up to $250,000 and or restitution for some amount, and then up to 5 years in prison. It's like, what are you doing, dude? It's like they don't mind him going out there and putting himself into that kind of legal jeopardy. It's like, it's okay now, but they got to be confident that they're going to stay in power forever. And it's like, because like, what happens if 2-3 years, down the road, the Democrats take the White House? I'm not saying they should or shouldn't, that it's better if they do or they don't. But has anybody considered that they can come back and say, hey, you lied about all this stuff? And it's like, they just don't appear to care. And of course, it's happening right at the same time that Jack Smith is up there giving hearings at the same time. And we're supposed to believe the one thing has nothing to do with the other. Of course, he's up there. The first word Nick Shirley says when he gets called to speak, the first thing he said is, awesome. It's all just a grift. Then he went from that conference, from that hearing, he then went to Ilhan Omar's congressional office there on Capitol Hill, where she was not. You guys know that they have different facilities where they actually do their actual office work versus a different facility there at the Capitol building where they take visits and negotiate while they're in session. She's not there. She's not going to be there unless she's actively working on a bill or she's actively in session. He goes over, and he knows that. I mean, he must know that. So he goes there and he gets one of his 1-800-FRAUD sweatshirts that he's out there selling and making money off of. He's making money off of these quality Leering Center sweatshirts. And he goes and he shows to the audience that I'm going to leave one of these for Ilhan Omar, who's a Muslim woman, a Somali American immigrant. Am I wrong? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Who represents Minnesota in Congress. And he gives it to one of her aides, makes a whole video out of it. Boy never saw a grift he didn't love. But he gets up there and he starts testifying before Congress, and he says, on behalf of tax-paying, law-abiding citizens everywhere in this country who are just so sick of fraud. That's what he said. Who are so sick of fraud. This boy's parents ripped off gyms, like gymnasiums here in Utah, and had to file bankruptcy like Ammon Bundy to avoid having to pay back the money that they had apparently accumulated, that they had redirected through like fake employees to purchase real estate, is the way I understand it. I haven't gone deep into the whole thing, but basically that's the way I understand it. That they basically bought rental property by making up fake employees and paying them a salary. I'm gonna have to follow up on that to get all the details. But basically, that's the way I understand it at this point. But this guy, his parents literally filed bankruptcy because they committed fraud here in Utah. I'm in Arizona, but you get the idea. Right now, I'm in Arizona. I mean, just never met a grift he didn't love. Anyway, uh, I'm going to get back to having to partying. We're definitely going to have Godless Sermon on this Sunday morning, so I hope that you guys will all be there. Barring that something comes up tomorrow, I probably won't see you guys until Sunday morning. Please make sure to mark on your calendars February 22nd. Again, it's not going to cost anything to RSVP to attend the event in St. George. It's going to be a great time. Going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to try and stream as much of it as we can. But it's going to be a great experience to have in person. And, I'm going to love to see your faces. If you guys can, go ahead and swing by and give $5 to the at corahor.org and click on the give button and use the form. I'm just remember, this money isn't going to me. This money isn't even going to the administrative costs of the church. It's going to benefit the charitable work that we're doing in right now, particularly in gathering blankets for the unsheltered. Still doing that. Mainly, we're taking blankets right now to Las Vegas and the people unsheltered out there, and we are also putting together donations that are going to go in terms of not only blankets, but also now we're doing hygiene kits for and so forth for women and children who are being housing displaced as a result of the crumbling of Warren Jeff's infrastructure in Colorado City, Arizona, which is also Hilldale, Utah, because it's right down the road from where we are doing our work. And they are in bad need right now of some more resources. Found out that this organization, Cherish Families, they have regular services where they have volunteers who come in and educate these women. You got to remember, a lot of these women they really didn't get an education in elementary, in high school and stuff. They don't know how to manage a checking account in some cases. They don't know how to do basic financial stuff. They never had to do any of that because everything was under the UEP. Everything was under the United Order. They lived Mormon communism. And you talk about an oppressive communist regime. Ammon, when are you going to come out against the Mormon communists, man? They lived under a very bad regime. These women, they don't know how to do basic stuff to take care of themselves because they've never had to in some cases. And they got these little kids and they've got, and these women, man, it's a very sensitive thing. When you're out there, it's like this burden that every person you see is carrying around. Like they're afraid of everybody who are strangers, people they don't recognize. When Nikki and I were out there, they were just looking at us kind of sidelong, like, who are these guys? What are they doing? And it was like, it breaks your heart. These who have to get a whole training and resources on how to start a life in America that frankly, they never lived a day of before. And I've been super impressed to find that this Cherish Families, they are doing the good work, man. And so we're going to do the best we can. That's why we've got this secret auction we're going to be having. You're not going to have to show up to participate in the secret auction. We're going to have it online as well. We're just going to be running it that weekend. So that's going to be February 22nd. Make sure to mark it on your calendars. If you can make it out to St. George, we'd love to see your faces. I'll be coming out with RSVPs and more information. We've already got the space secured. We've already got the materials coming in for setting up the space, the easels. We're going to be setting up the artwork. I'm going to be auctioning off my two of my paintings so far, which will be Crow. I think you guys, if you've been here long enough, you've seen Crow. I'll be auctioning that one off, and I'll be auctioning off Daughter of Alderaan, my Princess Leia painting. Love these paintings. They couldn't go to a more noble cause. Not a penny of that money is going to me. It is all going to help these people in Colorado City to get their lives back on track. Remember, we're doing important work here, and it's all so that we can help the people who are in need, because that is one of the best ways that I have discovered personally for this godless atheist, this heartless, cold-hearted atheist to develop spiritually. I'm glad you guys showed up. We had a great time. Even if I did just kind of rant about Ammon Bundy, I gotta find these Brooke Shirley things. One of these days, I'm gonna go crash out about Brooke Shirley. This woman is she's a treat. She's a treat. Anyways, when it comes to helping our unsheltered neighbors, we need more money than God. Hey! Hey!
You Robin Hoods gather round, storm these pews at the sound, spoil God's coffers for Korah, steal these tithes to feed the poor. Poor church mice send their offering plates, we'll wake to our hoods in their face. Rob St. Peter down to the floor, make God stand for something more. We'll fleece Mammon's coffers, their starving flock to feed, send them back to Jesus without their means. So Judas steeples into unholy sod, finally have more money than God. If Uncle Sam had their money, he'd feed the folks they don't. But godly men get elected so that he won't. They dance round the mountain with their golden calf, cast their tablets down on Yahweh's behalf. No need to pay to pray in their pews. Look to Korah, whore's good news. We'll fleece Mammon's coffers, their starving flock to feed, send them back to Jesus without their means. So Judas steeples into unholy sod, finally have more money than God. Their golden gates won't let us in, or the widows might redeem their sins. Graven images paint a hell so bold, but golden plates can't indulge their souls. With their 30 pieces of silver, we'll escape their hell. If they try to stop us, we'll ring their bell. If they get up the Danites on their graves, we'll trod, finally have more money than